Do you want to feel better, have more energy, and be your best and healthiest self? We want the same for you, and that's why your friends at the Total You Show are connecting with top industry experts to deliver the best information to you right where you are. Please welcome your host from the Total You Show.
Hi everybody, it's Linda Bailey with the Total You Show, and today we are going to discuss the blood sugar roller coaster. So this is season 3, and we are going to start a series, a little mini series within a series on women's health issues. This series is going to be all about blood sugar. And did you know one of the smallest, simplest changes you can make that has the biggest impact on reducing biological and chemical stress in the body is balancing your blood sugar. It's hugely important. But I'm going to talk about how food moves through the body, gets converted to energy, and is processed. And then I'm going to talk about how having your blood sugar out of whack can cause stress on the body and lead to all kinds of problems. Basically, the food we choose to eat can either increase biological chemical stress on the body or decrease it. So when we talk about blood sugar, we're talking about the concentration of glucose in the blood. It's a simple sugar, and it's the body's preferred energy source. We need to keep blood sugar balanced because when there's too much or too little glucose in the blood, it triggers a significant stress response. When we eat food, it goes through a process so our body can benefit from all the food's nutrients. So when the body is in need of energy, you feel hungry. The body releases ghrelin, which is a hormone, and that signals hunger. So we eat food, it goes into our mouth, and this is where the digestive process starts, when you chew your food. Your saliva contains enzymes, and it begins to break down the starches and fats. Once the food is in the stomach, it's churned by the muscles to further break it down, and the food is introduced to hydrochloric acid or stomach acid, along with enzymes like pepsin and lipase, which break down proteins and fats. So before food leaves the stomach, it's in a liquid state called chyme. And it goes to the small intestines, the gallbladder releases bile to help break down the fats, and then your pancreas releases additional enzymes to break down starch, fat, and protein, and the glucose is absorbed across the intestinal wall and goes into the bloodstream. So your blood is the delivery system that carries the glucose to all of your cells. So when your food is done with that process, it goes to the large intestines. And at this point, any food that couldn't be digested or absorbed goes to the large intestines to be eliminated. And this is also where excess water is absorbed too. So just because you have glucose in your bloodstream, it doesn't mean that your cells can actually use it. So this is where the challenge comes into play. When we have high blood sugar frequently, or for extended periods of time, it can lead to health challenges like damaging your nerves, your blood vessels. It can damage organs, and obviously it can lead to diabetes. So your ability to utilize blood sugar and not having roaming about is determined in large part by the hormone insulin. So when sugar levels or blood glucose increase, insulin is increased, and it acts like a key. It opens the door to the cell, which allows the glucose, the body's preferred energy source, to move into the cell, where it will eventually be converted into energy through glycolysis. So your body's production of insulin is affected by how many carbs you consume. Carbohydrates are a macronutrient. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that term. Macronutrients are carbs, fats, and proteins, and we need to keep those in balance with each meal or snack. We'll have another podcast on that at another time. But carbs' primary function is to provide energy for the body, especially the brain and the nervous system. And there are 3 kinds of carbohydrates. They're simple, complex, and fiber, and they each have a different effect on the body. So simple carbs They have a simple chemical structure, so they're digested and absorbed quickly. They provide just a quick burst of energy followed by a crash. So we're getting into discussing how this whole blood sugar roller coaster works. So some examples of simple carbs are glucose, which we've been talking about, lactose, which is a milk sugar, fructose, which is found usually in honey and fruit, and maltose, and that's produced by the breakdown of starches. Fructose and maltose both break down very quickly in the body. Complex carbs are sugars that take longer to break down. These are healthy for your body. They're full of vitamins, minerals, and fiber, and they help manage the release of sugar. So complex carbs are like a slow, steady burn compared to simple carbs, which kind of like are a flash fire. And some examples of complex carbs are brown rice, millet, quinoa, and vegetables. And they're great because they don't really spike your blood sugar levels quite as drastically. And this means you don't have to eat complex carbs. Let me back up. This doesn't mean you only have to eat complex carbs, that it's all simple carbs that should be avoided. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. We're just learning and providing information so we can bring the right balance to the body. It's all about balance. So there's one simple carb that wreaks havoc on our system. That's processed sugar. So let's talk about that for a little bit. The bad thing is that sugar dominates our food supply. It's in everything: crackers, soda, cakes, bread, ketchup, juice, salad dressing, tomato sauce, gum. It's even in toothpaste. So again, it's everywhere. So the reaction when you put processed sugars in your body, well, it's been processed, right? So it no longer contains vitamins, minerals, or fiber. So your body has to pull on its own reserves to process it. So keep in mind, complex carbs can also be processed or refined, and they can also lose their vitamins, minerals, and fiber. So if you're consuming all kinds of processed and refined simple carbohydrates more than you're eating nutrient-dense foods, then your reserves are getting depleted and you're going to end up in a deficit. All of that leads to a lot of health problems, but most importantly, it can really throw your body into that roller coaster with your energy and your mood. So when you eat simple carbohydrates, the body breaks them down really fast and they enter the bloodstream in a rush and they cause a sudden increase in blood sugar. So it's bringing you to the top of that roller coaster. And at the top of the roller coaster, your glucose levels have risen. Your body's alerted to release insulin, try to help get the blood sugar somewhere into your body and bring you back into balance. But the pancreas is secreting insulin to bring the blood sugar back down. And sometimes, we've spent a lifetime eating bagels and crackers and white bread, a lot of processed carbs. So your body sends the insulin out, but it may not bring your blood sugar back down to a stable place. It might send out too much insulin, and then your blood sugar drops way down. So now you're going down that roller coaster hill, and that's when you experience a blood sugar crash. You might feel spacey, shaky, and just all around uncomfortable. So when you're down in that crash, guess what your body craves? The fastest source of energy possible to get back into balance as fast as possible. So that's right, it's going to crave more sugar. So then it starts the roller coaster all over again. Too much insulin's released, we crash down, then it goes up and down and up and down. So the cycle continues. So the blood sugar roller coaster is one of the reasons why we start eating sugar, and it's really hard to stop because your body's trying to get to a point where the blood sugar is balanced. It's trying, but it's not working. And this roller coaster effect causes lots of biological and chemical stress on the body because it's constantly initiating and keeping the body in a stress response. So whether you're at the top or the bottom, your body needs help. It needs a fix. So the body constantly feels like it's in danger, especially because it's happening so quickly. So the stress response is constantly activated, and that's what destroys good health. So there's a way to tell when you're on that blood sugar roller coaster without having to actually test your blood sugar. There's a couple of physical cues your body can give you that can let you know where you are on that roller coaster, if you're on the lower end or the higher end. So one of these is when you have blood sugar lows. You might experience brain fog, difficulty concentrating, impatience, nervousness, heart palpitations, sweating, lightheadedness, nausea, fatigue, or even moodiness. The others, when you're having a blood sugar high, you may experience a surge of energy, bouncing off the walls. You might get hyper anxious, and you could be thirsty. You might have headaches. So this roller coaster effect not only can affect how you feel, but your mood and even your sleep. So this up and down can really mess with serotonin levels, and at the high you feel great, but at the low you feel horrible. So it's no wonder you have uneven moods. Part of it's because the blood sugar is all over the place. And unfortunately, it also affects weight gain because glucose goes into your cells, into your liver, into your muscle cells, and it can also go to your brain. And if all of those receptors are full, then glucose starts to be stored as excess fat. So we all have a hormone called glucagon that helps burn excess glucose that is stored in fat cells. But if you're constantly producing insulin, you're constantly on that roller coaster, and your body can't produce that hormone. So the blood sugar roller coaster is causing the body a ton of stress, but it's also keeping weight on and keeping you from ever burning that excess off. So if you're eating sugar regularly, deliberately or in hidden foods, you're on a biochemical and emotional roller coaster that's likely putting your body into a continual stress response state. And that's where weight gain, low energy, moodiness, and poor health can develop. And honestly, it's really hard sometimes to know how much sugar you're eating because it's in so many processed foods. And the fact that it tastes good is even more frustrating. I mean, who doesn't want to have sweets, right? It's not about never even eating sugar again, though. Again, it's about understanding how you can enjoy food but keep it balanced so it's not taking our bodies on this crazy roller coaster ride of stress. The last thing I want to leave with you is balancing blood sugar is one of the most important things you can do to reduce the biological and chemical stress so the body can heal, rebuild, have energy again, and get back to its normal weight. So balancing blood sugar is going to help solve so many health challenges that you might be experiencing. And in our next episode, I'm going to give you 7 ways that you can keep your blood sugar in balance. So keep tuning in every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. where we share more great tips. But until then, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.
That's all for this episode of The Total You Show. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, podcast, follow us on social media, and tune in to next week's episode. Helping you achieve the healthiest version of you, that's Total You.